Hello, bridge builders! I'm here with some exciting news. The first volume of interviews is now available on Amazon.com. The link can be found at eatlunchandboardgame.com. I promise that all proceeds from sales of this book will go right back into this podcast and channel. Whether that is new and better audio equipment for the podcast, or video equipment for the YouTube channel, or even more games to review, the money will not be wasted. Click over to Amazon and get your copy of Eat Lunch and Board Game, the first course today. And thank you for supporting the show.
Who doesn't love a good pun? I know I sure do. Also, who doesn't know some form of rummy? I believe most people that had a grandma have been exposed to rummy. My grandma, my aunts, my mom, my cousins, my siblings, and I used to play rummy all the time. My grandma recently passed, and a scorebook was buried with her. Turn for the Worst was pitched to me by Wam Wam Games as a different take on rummy, so with this history of rummy in my family, I had to give it a try. I had Phill Wamser on the show back in May of 2022, and this was his company's first game. Well, technically second. Sharp Cheddar was his first, but I don't know if they actually acknowledge that. He and his brother Jake took the idea of rummy, and instead of making runs or sets of numbered cards from a standard deck of cards, you were trying to collect hot dog toppings to complete recipes. I was intrigued, of course, so I sat down at lunch to play Turn for the Worst. Alright, welcome back to Lunch and Board Game. I'm your host, Adam Collins, and we're going to look at the rule clarity for Turn for the Worst. The rules are very frank. Even more so if you have the basic knowledge of rummy. Fear not, though, even if you do not, you can learn this game quickly. The rule sheet explains everything you need to know. Time to explain to newcomers. Well, if you know rummy, it takes all of about 3 minutes to get the new quirks. If you don't know rummy, it could take about 8 to 10 minutes to grasp the play order and what you can and cannot do. After that, it is off to the races. Gameplay. In Turn for the Worst, you are trying to collect the required ingredients to complete your recipe cards. Each recipe contains 3 to 5 ingredients to complete. The points for each of these recipes are listed at the top of the card. You can also score 3 points for a set of 3 of the same ingredient. Complete 3 recipes to end the round. Oh, and don't forget, you have to have a discard. If you cannot discard a card, you cannot end the round. So, plan accordingly. When a player goes out, each player takes 1 negative point per card left in their hand, no matter a recipe or an ingredient. This could lead a player to end the round via knock Wurst. After playing a third recipe, a player can choose to end the round receiving 1 negative point per card in hand, too. But this could catch players with a lot of cards in their hands. Taking a -2 to catch an opponent with 8 or so cards, worth it! To set up, separate the ingredients from the recipe cards. They have different backs. Shuffle and deal 7 condiment cards to each player face down, and deal 4 recipe cards to each player face down. Each player needs to select 1 recipe card to discard to start forming the community recipe area. The last person to eat a hot dog goes first, and luckily that is typically me. I do love a good Chicago-style hot dog. You only have a few choices on your turn. Draw 2 cards from the face-down ingredient pile. Draw 2 cards from the face-down recipe pile and discard 1. Take 1 of the face-up recipe cards from the community area, or dig from the discarded ingredient cards. Then you must discard a card to the ingredient discard area if you put an ingredient in your hand. If you choose to dig for a card, you must play the card immediately, and the rest of the ingredient cards become part of your hand. This is a good way to guarantee that you'll get that last ingredient to complete a recipe card in your hand. The flip side is that you add any extra cards into your hand and possibly negative points at the end of the round. As you complete recipes, you can place them face down in your play area or keep them in your hand to try to go out Jin style, meaning all at once. I prefer to play mine face down. If you play 3 of a kind, play these face up, Once you complete your third and final recipe, you can attempt to go out and get rid of all your cards. You can try to time this where you have an extra card when playing your third recipe. Or you can try for a fourth or fifth recipe, or perhaps a set. Or as my coworker did, I think he dug and put down 3 sets all at once. So that was not good for anybody else but him. But don't forget, you can also just knock Wurst to end the round. At the end of the round, each player adds up the points from their recipe cards that they've completed, and 3 points per set, and then subtract 1 point per card still in. And remember, that's 1 point no matter what kind of card it is. Now, the game can be over, or you can shuffle and play another round. The choice is up to you. Replayability. As with any card game, there is plenty of replayability baked in. Each round is different. Each game is different depending on how much time you had to play, the player count, who you're playing with, all that stuff. Loads, bunloads of replayability, if you will. Components. The box, the cards, and the rules are all standard quality. They should hold up well. You can sleeve the cards if you want. I might do that in case more cards are added to the deck. That way the edge wear won't give away the new cards. Lunchtime potential. So this is a twofold answer. I like to play this while out for lunch with a friend. We order, play as many rounds as we can before the food arrives, and the loser pays. Luckily, that's normally him. The other way is at my office where we play for the entire hour and just crown a winner at the end of lunch. Either way, it is playable for sure over a lunch hour. The rules have a set of suggested point values based on player count, but I rarely follow those. Artwork. All of the incredible artwork comes from Mike Shaw, a local St. Louis artist. Each ingredient is just so Barbie cute. Man, I'm going to keep throwing these puns in here. I love the nod to the old SNL skit Bill Swersky and dub airs on the peppers. The pickles making more pickles via guillotine is also great, and the onions crying are also hilarious. I just relish the artwork. Expansions. There might just be an expansion in the works. I might have an inside track to that. So follow them on their socials to keep abreast of any developments. Bang for the buck. Turn for the Wurst retails for $25 on Amazon. However, if you can catch the Wam Wam Games at a convention, farmer's market, or craft fair, you might be able to get it for less. Spoiler alert, you can get it for less if you see them in person. It is an extremely entertaining game and totally worth the money. Muster up the courage and get a copy. In summary. Turn for the Wurst, being the first full-fledged game from Wam Wam Games, is a hilarious game meant to be played by everybody in the family. From the littlest to the oldest, and actually the oldest ones, as Rummy is such an old game, and like I said, everybody knows it. A quick fun note, the game Turn for the Wurst was a featured clue on Jeopardy, where no one got the answer. Look it up on YouTube. Play as many hands or as few hands as you want, but in the end, be the one with the most points when the game is called to be crowned the wiener. As usual, you can reach out to me at eatlunchandboardgame.com, facebook.com/eatlunchandboardgame, and you can always email me at eatlunchandboardgame@gmail.com. And remember, board games build bridges.
When you're gaming, why not be comfy? Go over to supportplayer.org. Click on the cards, pieces, and dice to get some merch. These t-shirts are some of the most comfortable I have ever worn. That's supportplayer.org, and there's a link on eatlunchandboardgame.com.